The Andari expanse stretched before them, a vast cluster of stars and nebulae that had never seen human ships. To the Andari collective, humans were a curiosity at best, a potential threat at worst. Yet here they were, sending a lone ship into their territory, a small, sleek vessel signaling peace. Captain Lyra of the Andari Council watched the human envoy approach on the giant holoscreen in the council chamber. The ship glided through space with a calm confidence. Its design was simple but efficient. It had no extravagant displays of power, no terrifying weapons visible on its hull. It simply moved, almost as if it belonged. "Humans again," said one council member, his voice carrying a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. "I thought we agreed their technology was primitive. They can't possibly be a real threat." "But we underestimated them before," another replied. "Do you remember the cluster near Novaris? Humans built a mining colony in months, on a world no other species could even survive. And their repair systems extraordinary, almost organic, almost alive." Lyra nodded. The council was divided. Some argued for immediate inspection and possible quarantine. Others suggested giving them a chance to speak to test their intentions. The envoy ship had sent clear signals of peace, a rarity in the galaxy. Most species would have hidden weapons, kept reserves, prepared for negotiation or betrayal. Humans seemed different. The envoy docked at the Andari starbase, a sprawling collection of domes, towers, and ships. The humans moved carefully but confidently. Their envoys were small in number but carried an aura of focus and calm that unsettled the Andari staff. They wore simple uniforms, no flashy symbols of rank or authority. Yet the way they carried themselves suggested discipline and intelligence far beyond what the Andari expected. Ambassador Kellen met them on the main docking platform. He was an Andari veteran of hundreds of first contacts, used to dealing with nervous or aggressive species. But these humans were unusual. He noticed how they scanned the platform, taking in every detail, quietly observing. They didn't rush. They didn't panic. They just moved. "Greetings," said the tallest human, a man with short dark hair and calm eyes. "We are here to speak. We mean no harm." Kellen raised an eyebrow. The voice carried authority, yet there was no arrogance. He felt a strange sense of respect. "We will see." "Come," he said, motioning them toward the council chamber. Inside, the Andari council watched as the humans presented themselves. They spoke in perfect Andari translation, calm and clear. They introduced themselves, their mission, and their request: permission to survey this sector and establish a research station. Nothing more. No demands, no threats, just a request. "What makes you think we would allow this?" asked one council member. "Humans are unpredictable. You may claim peace, but your species' history is filled with conflict." The human captain smiled faintly. "Our history also shows ingenuity, survival, and cooperation. We build, we learn, and we endure. We hope that is enough for you to give us a chance." Some members of the council exchanged uneasy glances. The words were simple, almost naive. But there was an underlying truth. Humans were bold. They approached danger without fear, without the usual political maneuvering or deception. That was something the Andari had not seen in millennia. While the council debated, the humans quietly explored the starbase, observing the technology, the patrol patterns, even the routines of Andari workers. They asked questions, not invasive but practical. They noted areas of inefficiency, systems that could be improved, ways to optimize energy output. Nothing was hostile, nothing threatening, just observation and learning. Back in orbit, the Andari were unaware of the human Dreadnought. The massive ship, nearly half a kilometer long, lay in stealth orbit, cloaked by human technology that Andari sensors could not penetrate. It was silent, dark, and waiting. It would remain there unseen, until the humans deemed it necessary to reveal its presence. Humans had learned long ago that power alone was not enough. They needed patience, observation, and strategy. The Dreadnought was a tool, a symbol of capability, not aggression. Its presence was a silent statement. Humans could strike if needed, but only after careful consideration. Meanwhile, tensions in the council grew. Some argued that the humans were clever, possibly too clever, and should be monitored closely. Others argued that humans' apparent honesty and focus might make them useful allies, a species that could adapt, learn, and survive in ways others could not. "You underestimate them," said one council member, a tall Andari with blue-scaled skin. "They may appear small, simple even, but do not forget the cluster near Novaris. Entire systems were rebuilt in months. We have never seen such efficiency and adaptability. And they are patient," another added. "Look at their envoy ship. No weapons, no show of force. Yet we know a dreadnought or larger vessel is somewhere nearby. They do not act recklessly. They wait. They calculate." Outside, humans returned from their inspection tour. They spoke quietly among themselves, noting inefficiencies in energy distribution, possible improvements to shield generators, even minor structural weaknesses. Nothing hostile, just observation and thought. The council watched them closely. They could not decide whether to be impressed or concerned. One thing was clear: humans were nothing like other species the Andari had met. They were unpredictable, but in a way that suggested intelligence and careful planning rather than chaos. The human captain returned to the council chamber for the final session. He presented a plan, not a demand, not an ultimatum, but a proposal. Humans would cooperate with Andari scientists, share research, and explore the sector carefully. In return, they requested access to unclaimed planets for study and settlement. The council debated for hours. Voices rose and fell. Some argued for rejection, citing safety and caution. Others pointed out the potential benefits. Humans, resilience, ingenuity, and adaptability could be an asset. Finally, the council voted to grant limited access under supervision and strict protocols. Humans nodded, accepting the decision without complaint. Their calm confidence unsettled the Andari further. They had not argued, bargained, or threatened. They had simply presented their intentions and waited. As the humans left the council chamber, Ambassador Kellen whispered to his aide, "There is something different about them. Something we do not understand. I cannot say they are a threat, but I also cannot say they are harmless. Watch them closely." Unseen by the Andari, the human dreadnought shifted slightly in orbit. Its sensors scanned the starbase, the fleet, and the council chambers. It noted potential threats, yes, but also the structure of the Andari society. It learned, calculated, and waited. Its captain, seated deep inside, did not smile or frown. The humans had patience, more than the Andari could imagine. As night fell across the Andari starbase, humans gathered on the deck of their envoy ship. They looked up at the stars, at the nebulae stretching across the expanse. The mission was going well. Diplomacy was proceeding smoothly. Yet all humans knew, patience was only the first step. Observation and understanding came next. And if diplomacy failed, the dreadnought would speak. And somewhere deep in stealth orbit, it waited, silent and massive, a reminder that humans were more than they appeared. The first contact seemed peaceful. The Andari believed they understood the humans, but humans were patient, strategic, and unpredictable. The true test of this encounter had only just begun. The Andari starbase hummed with activity. Diplomatic talks with humans continued, but not everyone on the council was pleased. Some viewed humans as unpredictable, others as a hidden threat. The humans, meanwhile, continued their careful observations, learning the rhythms of the base, its defenses, and its technology. Captain Arlen, the human envoy leader, walked quietly through the base's corridors, accompanied by two aides. "Notice everything," he said softly. "We are here as friends, but never forget knowledge is power." His aides nodded, taking notes. checking energy flows and quietly examining defensive structures. Every detail mattered. Every system, every patrol, every small inefficiency could be useful, not for attack, but for understanding. Meanwhile, in orbit, the human dreadnought remained invisible. Cloaked by advanced technology, it circled the starbase like a silent sentinel. Sensors scanned the fleet and the planet below. It was massive, nearly half a kilometer long, with weapon systems far beyond the Andari's imagination. Yet it had not fired a shot. It waited as its captain had instructed, observing and calculating. On the starbase, tensions were rising. A rogue faction of the Andari fleet, distrustful of the humans, began testing boundaries. Small skirmishes near the starbase perimeter were reported, minor patrols encountering human scout ships. The humans did not retaliate aggressively but always responded with clever maneuvers, avoiding damage while demonstrating precision and speed. Commander Verk, leader of the rogue faction, was frustrated. "These humans are clever, too clever," he muttered to his second-in-command. "They evade every attack, every patrol, and they do not retaliate, at least not openly." "They are patient," his second replied, "and calculating. Be careful, Commander." "They are not reckless, but they are not weak." The rogue faction decided to escalate. They sent a small fleet of corvettes to harass the human envoy ship directly, hoping to provoke a reaction. They expected panic, confusion, or at worst, retreat. What they did not expect was strategy. The human envoy detected the incoming fleet early. Captain Arlen calmly ordered the ship into evasive maneuvers. It was small, but extremely fast and agile. The corvettes attacked, firing energy bursts, but the humans dodged with near-perfect precision. Every movement was calculated, every action intentional. The corvettes, growing frustrated, attempted to surround the envoy, but humans were not only fast, they were clever. Using the starbase's own communication channels, they fed false sensor data to the corvettes, making them miscalculate distance and speed. Several ships collided, minor damage but enough to confuse the attackers. Commander Verk was furious. "Impossible," he shouted. "They are too coordinated, too fast." "They learn quickly," his second said quietly, "and they do not panic. That is what makes them dangerous." Inside the envoy ship, Captain Arlen spoke to his crew calmly. "Prepare for escalation," he said. "We do not wish to fight, but we will protect ourselves. Dreadnought, maintain stealth. Do not reveal unless absolutely necessary." The humans had trained for this. They had anticipated conflict, and their response was precise, efficient, and ethical. They disabled attacking ships without unnecessary destruction. Critical systems were targeted to neutralize threats, while life support systems and non-combatants remained untouched. The Andari corvettes soon realized they were outmatched, not in raw firepower but in strategy, intelligence, and adaptability. Meanwhile, the council debated furiously. Reports of skirmishes and near misses reached the chamber. "They are violating our borders," some shouted. "No, they are defending themselves with minimal damage," others countered. "Look at the data. They avoid unnecessary destruction. They could have annihilated us by now, yet they show restraint." Ambassador Kellen, observing from the chamber, could not hide his unease. "Humans are not reckless," he whispered. "They are calculating, patient, and extremely capable. If they choose to fight, the results will be devastating." The rogue faction, frustrated and humiliated, escalated again. A larger fleet was assembled, intent on forcing the humans into submission. They believed that human diplomacy was weak, that patience was a bluff. Yet even as the fleet approached, humans remained calm. On board the envoy, Arlen monitored every ship, every movement. "Predict their maneuvers," he instructed. "Prepare countermeasures, but wait. Patience is our advantage. Let them make mistakes." The rogue fleet advanced aggressively. Sensors indicated multiple collisions, miscalculations, and defensive errors caused by human interference. The humans had not fired a single destructive shot yet. The Andari fleet grew more frustrated, but their commanders could not understand the human strategy. Then, a minor incident occurred. A scout ship from the rogue faction strayed too close to a human patrol zone. The humans reacted, not with destruction but with a precise and overwhelming display of power. For a few seconds, the human dreadnought revealed itself, partially uncloaked, just enough for the rogue faction to glimpse its size and armament. It did not fire. It simply moved into position, massive and silent, its presence alone enough to freeze the Andari fleet in place. Sensors went haywire. Communications faltered. The sheer scale of the ship was incomprehensible to the alien minds. Commander Verk froze. What is that?" "It cannot be," shouted another officer. "They have a dreadnought here, they hid it this whole time." The human envoy, still calm, sent a single message. "We do not wish for war, but we are prepared for it." The rogue faction hesitated, unsure whether to retreat or attack. They had expected a normal response: panic, fear, maybe surrender. They had not expected intelligence, patience, and overwhelming capability. Inside the dreadnought, the human captain observed the fleet below. He did not smile. He did not panic. He calculated. He waited for the exact moment when restraint would shift to action if necessary. The rogue faction finally pulled back, confused and wary. Their council received reports of minimal damage on human ships, but massive disruption on their own formations. The humans had won the encounter without firing a shot. Back on the starbase, the Andari Council reconvened. "They are unlike any species we have met," said one member. "They fight with precision and intelligence. They do not panic, and they hide power we cannot even detect." Ambassador Kellen nodded grimly. "We underestimated them, and I fear we still do not understand them fully." The humans continued their diplomatic efforts, now with an additional layer of tension. They had shown capability without aggression, intelligence without arrogance, and patience without weakness. Every move was calculated, every gesture intentional. Captain Arlen addressed his crew in a quiet moment. "We have shown them we are capable," he said. "But this is only the beginning. Observation and understanding come first. If diplomacy fails, then the dreadnought will speak." The humans had one goal: to prove that they were capable, intelligent, and not to be underestimated. They did not wish for conflict, but they were prepared for it. And the Andari, for all their technological superiority, were beginning to realize that humans were not just another species. They were a force of ingenuity, strategy, and resilience, unlike anything the galaxy had seen. As the human envoy prepared for the next phase of diplomacy, the rogue faction of the Andari fleet debated their next move. They could no longer dismiss humans as weak. They could no longer assume that patience equaled submission. The dreadnought hovered silently above, a hidden reminder of what humans could do when necessary. And somewhere deep inside the dreadnought, systems quietly scanned every aspect of the Andari fleet. Calculations were made, contingencies prepared, strategies plotted. Humans were patient, humans were smart, and humans were ready for the challenges ahead. The first skirmish had ended without bloodshed, but the galaxy was beginning to understand a simple truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were patient, they were clever, and they could strike with precision the likes of which the Andari had never seen. The stage was set. The rogue faction would not forget this encounter. The council would not forget this encounter. And the humans waited, calm, ready, and unshaken. The first contact, once thought peaceful, was beginning to show its true complexity. The Andari believed they understood the humans. They did not. Humans were more than patience and diplomacy. They were strategy, calculation, and potential unmatched anywhere in the galaxy. And the dreadnought remained unseen, waiting for the moment it would reveal its full power. The Andari rogue fleet had grown reckless. Frustration and pride had driven them to push deeper into human-controlled space, testing limits they could not even perceive. They believed the human envoy was weak, that their patience was a bluff, that the Dreadnought was a rumor or a trick. They were wrong. In orbit above the Andari starbase, the human Dreadnought shifted silently. Cloak systems disengaged partially, revealing a massive silhouette against the stars. Its hull gleamed with advanced alloys and adaptive shielding. It was unlike any ship the Andari had ever seen, towering, sleek, and terrifying in its silent confidence. Weapon arrays lined its surface, long-range cannons, precision disruptors, and energy turrets capable of dismantling a fleet in minutes. Inside, Captain Arlen and his crew monitored every Andari ship. "They've made their move," he said calmly. "Time to show them what we are." The rogue fleet advanced in formation, unaware that the humans had already calculated their every possible maneuver. They opened fire, energy beams cutting through the void, but the Dreadnought did not retreat. It moved with a purpose, precise and controlled. Every shot it returned was carefully calculated. Shields were targeted, propulsion systems disrupted, but no ship was destroyed unnecessarily. The Andari fleet's sensors scrambled. Their systems could not comprehend the Dreadnought's speed, precision, or intelligence. Ships that thought they were in safe positions suddenly found themselves disabled, their weapons offline, engines sparking. Commanders panicked. "How is this possible?" shouted Commander Verk. "Their ship, it thinks faster than we do." Arlen watched calmly. "Disable, do not destroy," he ordered. "We show them strength, not brutality." The Dreadnought's energy disruptors struck with surgical precision. Turrets that could destroy entire corvettes were only used to disable. Communications arrays went offline, sensors blinded, engines halted, but life support systems remained untouched. The Andari pilots realized too late that they had been outmaneuvered at every turn. In the chaos, the rogue faction tried to regroup, but the humans anticipated it. Using advanced predictive algorithms, the Dreadnought moved faster than the Andari ships could track. In moments, the fleet's formation was broken, corvettes spinning helplessly in space, frigates immobilized, and command vessels isolated. "This cannot be," Commander Verk shouted, watching his forces collapse under an invisible hand. "They are too smart. They fight with intelligence," one of his officers said quietly. "Not just weapons, every move is calculated." From the envoy ship, Captain Arlen watched the Dreadnought's actions unfold. "Maintain control," he said. "Show them strength, not fear. They need to understand the cost of recklessness, not the horror of war." The Dreadnought fired a series of pulses at key power nodes, not to destroy but to neutralize. Engines shut down, weapons cooled and froze, and shields flickered. The Andari fleet was immobilized, not destroyed. Silence filled the calm channels of the rogue fleet. Confusion, fear, and awe replaced arrogance. On the Andari starbase, the Council watched in shock. They had underestimated humans. They had assumed patience meant weakness, diplomacy meant surrender. But humans had demonstrated restraint and precision combined with overwhelming capability. Ambassador Kellen could not hide his awe. "They do not waste energy," he whispered. "They do not panic. Every action is deliberate. They are perfect in strategy." The rogue fleet tried one last desperate attack, launching volleys of torpedoes toward the Dreadnought. The massive human ship moved like a predator, evading every strike effortlessly. Countermeasures disabled the torpedoes, rerouting energy pulses to jam guidance systems. Within moments, every torpedo was harmlessly neutralized. "This is over," Captain Arlen said calmly. "We are not here to kill, only to show the consequences of aggression." The Dreadnought's massive hull glided past the frozen ships of the rogue faction. Sensors scanned, recorded, and analyzed every system. Then, it fired a final, precise pulse at the lead command ship, disabling its engines and weapons completely. The flagship drifted silently, powerless, a symbol of human capability. Commander Verk stared at his powerless ships. We are beaten," he said quietly, "and yet they have not destroyed us." "That is the point," Arlen replied over calm channels. "We demonstrate power, intelligence, and restraint. Violence is not necessary to teach a lesson. You may proceed with diplomacy now or face consequences that cannot be undone." Silence fell. For the first time, the rogue faction truly understood the humans. They were not reckless. They were not aggressive without reason. They were precise, intelligent, patient, and capable of overwhelming power. And they were ethical. The Andari Council convened an emergency session. Reports of the battle had reached them in full detail. "Humans are unlike any species we have met," one member said. "They fight with intelligence. They do not waste resources. They disable, neutralize, and yet preserve life." "Exactly," Kellen agreed. "We underestimated them. They are not just physically capable, they are morally capable as well. Their restraint shows confidence. Their strategy shows genius." The council voted unanimously to end hostilities and formalize cooperation. Humans had demonstrated that they were not to be underestimated. They had shown strength without cruelty, intelligence without arrogance, and dominance without destruction. Captain Arlen addressed his crew once the battle ended. "Remember this," he said. "Our strength is not in aggression alone. It is in calculation, patience, and ethics. We fight to win, but we win without unnecessary violence. That is what makes us human." The Dreadnought returned to stealth orbit, disappearing from all sensors. It would remain unseen, a silent sentinel, a reminder to any who might test humans again. The galaxy had seen only a glimpse of its full power, and it was enough to establish respect and fear. Back on the starbase, humans resumed diplomacy. They shared knowledge, exchanged technology insights, and helped repair damaged systems. The rogue faction was chastened but alive, a deliberate choice by humans. They had proven capability, intelligence, and ethical restraint in one decisive action. The Andari scientists observed human techniques with fascination. They had never seen a species combine precision engineering, strategy, and moral judgment so seamlessly. Humans repaired systems faster, optimized energy flows more efficiently, and solved problems in ways that defied conventional logic. As the humans prepared to leave the Andari sector, Arlen reflected on the mission. "We showed them we are strong," he said quietly. "We showed them we are clever, and we showed them that humans do not fight recklessly. We do not kill without reason, and when the time comes, we strike decisively." The Andari would speak of this day for generations. They had witnessed a species that combined intellect, ethics, and power in a way that the galaxy had not seen before. Humans had earned respect not through conquest alone, but through ingenuity, patience, and moral strength. And somewhere in stealth orbit the Dreadnought remained, a silent promise to the galaxy: humans were ready. The rogue faction had learned their lesson. The Council had learned their lesson. And the humans had reminded the universe that they were not merely survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with, precise, intelligent, and unstoppable when necessary. First contact had escalated into a silent war of strategy and intellect. The Andari had underestimated the humans. They would not make that mistake again. And the humans, patient and calculated, had prepared the galaxy for the truth. Humans may seem small, peaceful, and simple, but when provoked, they struck with precision, ethics, and unstoppable ingenuity. The Dreadnought, now fully back in stealth, drifted silently among the stars. Its sensors recorded, its systems remained ready, and its captain knew that true victory was not in destruction, but in being prepared for any eventuality. The galaxy had seen only a glimpse. Humanity's patience, intelligence, and morality had won the day. And the next challenge, whatever or whoever it might be, would face humans at their absolute best. The Andari had learned humility. The rogue faction had learned fear mixed with respect. And humanity had proven once again that they were a species unlike any other.